Well, we should know by tomorrow. All right, go for it.
All right. Yeah, we're going to modify a little bit here. No Clint Smith.
Yes.
Yeah, he might still show up later on. But that's all right, because we got plenty to talk about. Gavino, Mr. Lee,
Good evening.
how we doing?
I'm doing fine now.
We was going to talk about all kinds of things, but now we got even more to talk about. Clint Smith's not here.
I personally had a very challenging time. My best friend passed away, and I had to go back to Cincinnati to his homegoing ceremony. And I'll try to be perked up a little bit today, but there's a lot going on around here. Since I've been gone, I'm looking forward to tomorrow because I've been invited to the Trump rally tomorrow. I'm going to get a special seating because my buddy R.W. Bray, who's the state director of minority outreach, of black outreach, is going to be speaking briefly, and I've been invited as his guest. Although it goes from 4 to 6 tomorrow.
That's the Fox News thing?
Yes, the Fox News deal. But I have another meeting I have to go to at 5, so I'm going to make myself known and hopefully seen.
Well, you're not babysitting me tomorrow, that's for sure. You just ain't going to have time for that.
Well, I got time for you, man. I always had time for friends.
No, I can't do that much walking. I told Richard Dominguez wanted to tell him, no, you can't carry me around here.
Well, you need to get your wheelchair.
I got me a walker, but then you got all this be crowded.
Shit, I don't mind being strolled around.
Well, it's not that kind of a thing, you know. I can walk and sit down when I need to.
Give me about 5 minutes. I'll have the video ready for you.
10, 4, and 5 minutes, we'll have the video.
And tomorrow we'll know who all the candidates are for all the local school board races, ACC board, and Austin City Council. Today was the deadline.
10-4.
5 o'clock, so I'm pretty sure by tomorrow we'll learn who all the candidates are going to be on the November 8th ballot for the upcoming elections.
I'm already working on getting a bunch of them down here. Hopefully some for debate.
And if you are a candidate and you are going to be running for the November 8th, where do they contact you, folks, if they want to come on
Trailer Park
and
Show at hotmail.com.
come out here? It's a free time, free airspace. Free time to give with your constituents in your area and educate them and convince them why you're the best person to be elected to that one office.
I still haven't got our constable on yet, but
Well,
the
tomorrow
calendar's getting kind of full. I'm already up to the 24th, which is October 24th, which is first day of early voting. But we can squeeze you on if you want to. Yeah, we'll find Trailer Park Show calendar can always be mixed and matched.
even if you just show up.
Yeah.
Well, Pokey, what we could do is, I'm beginning my own show.
That's right.
Called Right Talk with Mike Lee, beginning September 12th, Monday, September 12th, right after
8
your
o'clock,
show.
this very same channel.
And so, to the
computer.
extent you have too many people who
Use
you
overflow.
might want to get on, we can use my show as overflow and support what you do.
That's good, because we got a lot of candidates, and we've always wanted to focus on these down ballot candidates. I'm really going over the school board, which we support school choice, but in these charter schools, who elects them? That's the one good thing. But we get to AISD, we ask for, I guess. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say here? We can
the reason
that we vote for.
Well, the reason on the AISD, public schools in general throughout the state of Texas, is because
Yes, sir.
they're structured districts that call for school board members to represent those districts, whereas the charter schools are totally different, and I think that they're recruited and appointed by, for example, UT Elementary.
Well, we know from East Austin.
But if we
prep.
talk charter schools here in Austin, and you mention UT Elementary, the Lions aren't that noisy, they don't come attacking UT Elementary as much. If you were to mention Southwest Keys or IDEA, all the fingernails come out and all the turf fighting. But
I don't know. I mentioned Southwest Keys, and that was the last they said anything to me about. That was Paul Saldana.
yeah. Well, Southwest Keys has been having a real great success. They graduated 150 this past school year. It was the first senior class, and all the 150 got accepted into a college.
Hold on here a minute. Can I break in just for a minute?
Sure.
Now, part of what they shut up when I mentioned that, she's trying to say like it's a white thing. But now, if I'm correct, Southwest Key is like, what, 90% Hispanic?
It's all not, yeah, it's all Latino administrators, and
Is that a charter school?
it's a charter
Charter
school up there
It's
by
highly successful.
183 and what is it, MLK?
Is this Mr. Clint Smith coming in here now?
That's him.
Come on in here, we got a chair. We might be drifting off from your issues, but
So, yeah, they're located off there of MLK and 183.
yeah.
And then they also have another campus next to Johnston High, the former Johnston High School, which is Jane Lane. That's where they have another facility in that area. Here we go. Our guest has arrived. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, worried
Yes,
about you
sir.
there. We were just discussing schools and
And today was the first day of school, and we hope that everyone had a real safe and enjoyable, day out there.
what a coincidence. It's first day of school and it's the last day to file to be a candidate on school board.
Yeah, on the school. Well, I do know that District 2 has 2 candidates.
I've
for
already,
sure.
Jimmy Matthias and,
I'm not too sure about the other. Well, I know there's 2 others that are running for the at-large seat that Hinojosa held.
Yes, sir.
But you were talking about down ballot voting,
Yeah.
because many of our people, as you well know, be it Republican or Democrats, in November, we just walk in there and traditionally we just walk straight ticket, walk. We vote straight ticket because obviously the lines are big, election day, and people just want to get out of there and do their thing. And a lot of people that, and Pokey, because we work the elections post, and we educate the voter. We don't direct it. We educate them that there are other candidates or other on the ballot. I just want to vote for president. I don't got time for. All right, then that's their right, But like you mentioned, school board,
school board,
ACC board members,
ACC, constables, JPs,
all these
and don't
offices.
forget the 170 some odd $1 million bicycle lane bonds on there too.
Well, now that you mentioned that, vote low. This is LULAC over here, and then
Got your LULAC hat
Concilio.
on?
Yes, I'm gonna slap it on. We're strongly advising the community to vote no against the $720 million bond. If this bond, first it was $5 a month. Now the last time I heard it's now $8 to $9 a month. So we're talking about $90 to $100 a year.
That's a lot of
For
bicycle
20
lanes.
years. For 20 years. When, in my days, we would install sidewalks as we did infrastructure,
That's true.
So I don't know why we can't do that in this time, this time around. And I don't know, $720 million, that's a lot of money. So yeah, definitely vote no, and that's another major reason why you need to go down ballot,
Yep.
because this one is going to be at the very, very bottom.
And anyway,
Quite often, that's a strategy, too, they put those kinds of items at the bottom, figuring that people might not vote, so they win by a very small small margin.
we're
because
going
people don't vote.
to
Yeah.
we're going to have to visit a little while for Don Zimmerman controversy. Whenever the film comes up, but we didn't mean to cut you off. I know you had a lot to say. I know Mr. Lee has a lot to say.
The Don Zimmerman fairy's here.
Why did you get them glasses, Mo?
Look at that.
Uh-oh, you're almost see-through.
Oh, Queen. Anyways,
Well,
Don Zimmerman's ready to go.
All right, it's only a little 3-minute film, then we can just make some brief moments about it.
I'd just like to say kudos to the liberal media of Travis County for making this big old, small, I would say, story
Non-issue into a big issue.
a big old inflated issue. Because like I was mentioning to Pokey, that there's yet one Latino organization to come out and speak out against what he said. It's all been the media and a couple of council members.
A couple council members think they get some votes
You
out
know,
of
and
it.
usually when someone makes a remark that is, to the level that the media portrayed it,
Yes, sir.
you have community people come out.
Yes,
you know.
sir.
In this one, I haven't seen any community member come out or organization and say, you know what, damn you, Don Zimmerman, you insulted us, you did this, you did that, So,
Well, I think whatever a person's opinion might be, I'm really glad to see the commotion and the controversy.
Is that
Because
right?
the real issue here, and I watched it several times, the kids were asking the kinds of questions that go into human capital. Mike, you know about that.
Yeah.
It's not just a matter of putting money, they were just asking for money. After school programs, early childhood programs, those are the kinds of things that help families. So whatever the case might be, whatever the opinions might be, I was glad to see it come up because it gives us the chance in this situation tonight to talk a little bit about that. Budget priorities, human services.
Well, let's talk about that when we see the film.
Yeah,
And
right.
those are
Get that out of the way.
programs that are needed and that need to be available, especially in communities that are really disenfranchised. And
Right,
you have
right.
blue-collar worker parents that can't afford babysitters and all that. But, that wasn't the issue. The issue was that he had crucified these kids.
Let's
You
watch
know.
it, and then we'll talk
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Because look,
We got to do this quick so we can get back to the issues that we're supposed to be on anyway.
We want to talk about the budget. We want to talk about
Oh,
the
yeah.
budget and priorities.
There you go.
And that's
Turn it up,
one of
Mo.
them, yeah.
Yeah, this is KXAN version. Hello?
useful and produce something in your society so you don't have to live off of it.
To speak his mind in and out of city council meetings.
But what Austin City Council member Don Zimmerman said to a group of Hispanic students ended with boos.
I'd like to ask for everyone here, including the children, when you grow up, I want to ask you to pledge to please finish school, learn a trade, a skilled trade, get a college education, start a business, do something useful, and produce something in your society so you don't have to live off others. Thank you.
Well, the group of students had just addressed the council in Spanish. Members of this council.
To speak his mind in and out of city council meetings.
But what Austin City Council member Don Zimmerman said to a group of Hispanic students ended with boos.
I'd like to ask for everyone here, including the children, when you grow up, I want to ask you to pledge to please finish school, learn a trade, a skilled trade, get a college education, start a business, do something useful, and produce something in your society so you don't have to live off others. Thank you.
Well, the group of students had just addressed the council in Spanish.
Speak his mind in and out of city council meetings.
But what Austin City Council member Don Zimmerman said to a group of Hispanic students ended with boos.
I'd like to ask for everyone here, including the children, when you grow up, I want to ask you to pledge to please finish school, learn a trade, a skilled trade, get a college education, start a business, do something useful, and produce something in your society so you don't have to live off others. Thank you.
Well, the group of students had just addressed the council in Spanish, asking for their continued support in after-school funding.
Councilmember Delia Garza found his comments offensive to the point that she interrupted the meeting to share her thoughts.
And I want our community to know that we do not condone what he said, and we have your back, not just the ones that are brown or black on this dais. There are other progressive members of this council that support you and understand your issues. And thank you.
This morning on KXAN News Today, we spoke with the Austin Monitor's Michael Kanan for some perspective on Zimmerman's comments.
Yeah, it's funny. Every time somebody who isn't 18 comes to council, there's a sort of ritual that we go through. Councilmember Gallo, District 10 Councilmember Gallo, asks them all to register to vote, to promise to register to vote, and then Councilmember Zimmerman sort of comes back with this response. This is sort of what he used, the frame of what he used is something that he said many times to many different groups of people. The context last night, however, was sort of painful, I think, for a lot of those of us in the room, and you saw the result this morning.
And you can hear that full interview at KXAN.com. We spoke with council members Sherry Gallo and Greg Kassar, who say they have heard Councilmember Zimmerman make similar comments before to young people, but they agree last night's comments were in a very different context with a very different tone.
It's not only disappointing and disheartening what he said, but it's just plain wrong. These children and their parents are some of the hardest working people in our community. they're some of the most productive members of our city, the ones that are building our buildings and paving our streets. And so the fact of the matter is, I think that the young people and their parents who came and spoke to us are much more productive than any politician on the dais, especially those that can hardly get anything passed in the budget.
We reached out to Councilmember Zimmerman for a response, and he sent us this via text. He said, quote, "On behalf of those non-subsidized taxpayers being forced out of our city by legions of special interests, I apologize for the greed and selfishness of those willing to expand city government force through the political process to maintain and increase their own subsidies at the unaffordable expense of others."
Keep us from doing another bond for home, for affordable housing.
Mm-hmm.
So that leads into your budget discussion.
Well, one of the reasons I've looked forward really to the program and our being on tonight is I represent Gray Panthers, and we're nonpartisan. We're not non-political because we do take on political issues. Politics is life. But it's the fourth time now, I guess, in the last 15 months that we've had this discussion, but it's the first time really under the 10-1 regime now that we've had an opportunity to talk about budget priorities that they are responsible for setting. And I'm particularly interested in, to go back to the Zimmerman controversy and so on, and then I'll leave that. Again, I think maybe the real value is it raises the kinds of questions that we ought to be asking. We ought to be asking the City Council about the amount of funding. In other words, where is our money going? We can talk about the $720 million. We can talk about a lot of other issues that really divert us from the real issues. And I really wanted to hear what you have to say about this, Mike, too, about human capital, investing in human capital, the schools, the education, the training. You focus more on preparing the kids to keep them out of jail, not so much just to keep them out of prison and out of jail, but to prepare them for life as well. So I would like to see us ask the council, and again, Gray Panthers have come at this a number of times. You can go back to 10-1 when it first passed. I think it was the North Austin Neighborhood Association that asked for an audit of the city's finances. Mm. The question being, would you buy a new business or go into a new venture without checking out the books first? And we didn't do that. We moved the seats around, and we changed the people, but we didn't really look at the books. Now, we had an audit here about, 12 months ago, the Zucker review. I won't call it an audit. I have a little bit of a background in auditing. And that came out with some very interesting results. Mainly, it strengthened what was already being done. It split the division that it raised questions about possible bribery, broke that into two, gave them more money, and moved right ahead with the building programs. I mean, the idea was, how do you speed up the granting of funds for more buildings? So that's continued. So we didn't really ask any questions about where the money was going. We just gave them more. So this is the first time really now, I think, and with 5 city council people up for re-election, we ought to be asking them to take a position on this question. They've got more money, they say, than they know what to do with, in a sense. We've got questions about where it ought to go. So let's go back to that question that North Austin raised. What about auditing? Let's just look at the books. Now, one other point on that, Gray Panthers also have been looking at the issue of possibility, and this was not raised by us, bribery. There was a 4-count bribery indictment that we've never been able to get any response on. What happened to that in this building plans and development division? And they won't give us an answer on that. Number 2, we've asked questions over and over again about pension funds. The city of Austin pension fund is in deep trouble, and we've raised questions about that, and we can put that up on the screen later. Again, no response to that. So I think one of the best answers that I've seen lately is after Dallas went through an investigation, it happened to be a federal investigation, one of the city council people came out, Angela Wright, I think it was, and said, what we really need to do is take a close look at the city hall, city staff, and maybe start to take a look at who's down there. These are the people who stay while the elected officials come and go. So bottom line, what I feel is, and I'd like to get your opinions on this, if we could get, and I think Interfaith Group would follow up on this. I'm part of that too. Number 1, let's go for an in-depth investigation or review of the city of Austin's finances. focusing on what's happened to about $8 million in federal funds that we were involved in helping to get for rehabilitation of housing. The other thing, and this is a subset of that, right now there have been studies that have been made here recently about lead poisoning, particularly in paint. Now we know about Flint and the water, but lead poisoning in paint, and yet we've not been able to get anything done about that. We've repeatedly asked the city to look into that. What happened to the money, the $8 million in remediation funds that came in? We need to look at that.
That was some years ago, wasn't it?
It was, and we've been asking, and we've over and over and over again.
Still
but
asking.
it's been the stonewalling. So we made a change in the people downtown, but we haven't made a change in the system. So one way to start doing that is to take a look. What was it Deep Throat said? If you really want to know what's going on and who to ask, follow the money.
Well, you know that right now they still do the historical tax exemption. And I asked one of the budgets, I remember when we were at the Dove Springs, at the De La Garza town hall meeting, she finally sent me a response. It's $1.6 million, $1,600,000 in taxes that are waived through this historical tax exemption.
Right.
You know, so those are the kind of questions that one asks, you know, why are we doing this? AISD does it as well, you know. So, you know, these are, and I'm glad that Troxell is bringing up the issue of let's make this next year really the budget of affordability, you know. And you would think that was something that Tovo or, you know, one of the other liberal Democrats out there would bring out to the table, but, you know, you mentioned some of the folks that one of the things about, and I guess it's just part of the nature, you know, capitalism is anyone that receives funds, you know, many times doesn't bite the hand that feeds them. So you'll find a lot of, even in the Latino community, when X group doesn't get monies and the other one, X, you know, complains, or the other one says, oh, okay, well, we're going to give you the money, you know. And that way you won't raise the issues and you won't raise the questions, and we'll move along, you know.
Well, that's quite true. But on the other hand, you know, public servants take an oath. It's accountability. It's an oath of office under Title 18 of the United States Code. And they are required, it's all about upholding, enforcing the law and so on, not abusing the public's trust. But we really never enforce that, and the public hasn't demanded that enforcement or adherence in the way we should. And what I think now is the time, now that we've had the 10-1 changes, we still get this problem. We haven't had the so-called transparency we were promised, you know. We go back and we ask them, where is it? Well, nobody even wants to answer that question. Where's the transparency? Nobody will tell us. Now, this is the first time with this election coming up, and before that with the budget. And the issue here is, where is our money? How are these budget priorities being set? And I think we've got 5 city council members up for re-election. They ought to be asked that question. What is your position on an audit of the city of Austin's finances? And make that a part of this election or the bond issue of $720 million in the fall.
Can I throw something in here? You know, they're lawyers. They'll come up with some kind of answer like, well, you want an independent audit? What do you say, yes? And they say, I got just a person.
Put it this way, we had an independent audit paid for by the city. It wasn't so independent because it cost us about $240 million.
Holy cow,
the audit I'm talking about is one that Great Panthers have asked for, and we'll have this up on the screen in a few minutes.
We will?
Yeah, it's
an
audit.
Put that up there,
I hope she will, but I would say it's the Coalition for Shared Governance, the Great Panthers, other organizations, including North Austin, based on North Austin's request at the beginning of 10-1 in January 15 for an audit by the state. Now, we're not asking for an audit by the state. We really don't need that at this point. We're saying we need an audit by the federal government into the issue of fraud and corruption, because that is what Title 18 is all about. That is what those federal funds for lead abatement are all about. Those are questions we have already asked that question. What we need is support of the community
to follow through. Something?
Sure.
Audit between the state or the federal government. Why not the state government?
Well, it's the federal funds. The federal funds were for lead abatement. This was part of the stimulus fund.
I don't trust the federal government too much, though. But
I'll say what I said before. El Paso, I think it was San Antonio, more recently Crystal City, and actually in Dallas, some people went to jail up there. Now, I'm not trying to put
how
people
much
in
did
jail.
Austin receive for this lead program?
Well, the
'Cause
first, on the first
recently-
cut, somewhere around $8 million. And we've looked into it, and we've done a lot of research on this.
This funding cycle or before?
No, this was before.
Okay,
And-
because
and
right
we-
now they're out there marketing and they're out there in the community recruiting homes to be visited and see if they have lead paint.
And do you know why? One reason being
Well, I'm
because
pretty sure
we've
because
been
of all,
pushing them on it.
yeah,
we've been asking
yeah.
questions about it.
So I guess the good side of that, if anything, is that now they have to spend the money, if you will, because they're being watched more closely.
No, that's
it's making the process more lenient for those that are applying.
Well, that's true.
Because you know that when you apply, they look at your bills, they look if you have any.
See if you need the help or not.
Well, no, not only that, but see if you ever broke a lease, and crazy things that have nothing to do.
To save our time, we have two cases, at least. I'll say one case, which is very well documented, and it's been through court, and the lady won. And the city of Austin then allocated, on 4 different votes, $177,000 to suppress her case. They starved her out. Her name is Alyssa Chambers.
I remember that story.
Okay, we
in the
have another
record
case
section.
that the
What
city.
about people?
Well, the city recently caved on another one, which was the Franklin case out in Heritage Heights. I can't think of the lady's first name. But they finally admitted hers had been to court. So these are the same, one white, one black. And we're saying, look, if you were wrong on the Franklin case, and, Ott was involved in this, the city manager, and said, oh, yes, well, people, they don't say, we screwed up. It's always mistakes are made. You see, that way nobody has to take the blame for it. So we're not saying we're not trying to prosecute anyway. We're just saying if you found that wrongdoing in this case resulted in this woman being given some degree of resolution of this after 20 years, the black woman, what about the white woman who is still suffering from lead poisoning, her family, and all the rest of it? Now, what I'm saying is that particular case, Alyssa Chambers, represents 36 other cases of the same kind. In one case, a grandmother's house burned down. We've got these on file. And I can tell you, I think the reason they don't want to we can't get it looked at by the city is because they know that there's an awful lot of liability involved here. Lead is a problem nationwide. And when this, again, I suggest this may be criminal negligence when you know that there's a problem and refuse to act on it. Now, one other point. So this is the basis for requesting a federal investigation, not into that case, but into what happened with the rehabilitation funds.
So what you're saying is that right now, those $8 million are not being accountable or being made available to review.
They have not been accounted for.
They
What
have not been
happened
accounted.
to the rest
Now,
of the money?
is this
Yeah.
something that was given to urban renewal or the city or both?
This came into the city of Austin.
So, but
Yeah, the
do you know
community
if they
development
farmed it
funding.
out?
We will find it out. That's why we want to ask questions.
There are a couple of things
But
that you
one other
mentioned.
point. To do that, to answer your question, we're not paying anybody to come and investigate. This is the responsibility of the federal government. I worked for the feds a good while. And our philosophy used to be, again, not only the business of follow the money, but it's you ask these kinds of questions: who gave, who got, who offered, and who took, and then where'd the money go? So you start with that, and the next thing is then you line a few people up and you put them under oath. And they don't give us depositions. We take depositions under oath. And a penalty of 5 years, $10,000 fine. You're an attorney, you know what that means, perjury. And it's amazing how loose tongues can become when you remind them this is not Woolworth or J.C. Penney. We're talking about federal funds. So it's worked in El Paso, it's worked in Dallas, it's worked in Crystal City. Why not in Austin? That's my point. I'm through with my sermon. I'm sorry, Mike.
No, it seems to me, Clint,
this is where the money is.
That you
When
brought
we
up
need money for human services. It's in corruption.
You have brought up two very important points to me, in my view, which is accountability, which is one,
Right.
and the other is human capital. Now, I would wish, and my strong desire is that the political party of my affiliation, which is the Republican Party, which is not easy being African American. And those are the kinds of things I wish my party would take up, because these are popular things that appeal to people and that are important to people. as a party, we have to get out of this money thing and get into a people thing, because it's about helping people, not just yourself. It's about helping people and having better and stronger communities and families and everything else. Now, I was looking at several emails that you sent me regarding this lead poisoning deal, and I got a little scared. I'm gonna tell you why. And I asked Pokey this question before you came, when we were sitting outside, which was, is this lead poisoning thing gonna be as big as asbestos is or was?
Yeah.
It smells like that to me.
It is. It's bigger.
It smells like that to me.
Yeah, it may be bigger because, at least with asbestos, we had a lot of the unions and others began to come in on that. This has been a sleeper issue. And you know what? It's going to get a lot worse with this international trade agreement, because we're going to have a lot more of these toys and so on coming from China and other places, and less regulation. Mm-hmm. And you can't even sue them, the companies that make it, or the governments that approve that from here. So our issue basically, and this is not, money is green, it's not a matter of political parties, because as far as I'm concerned, again, I say this, independent, I feel, these are two wings, the Republicans and the Democrats, not of an eagle so much, but often as a buzzard. That's straight talk.
That's one way to look at it, yeah.
Buzzard. Now, it's up to us, the people. And I think right here in Austin, Texas, we have an opportunity. I'd like to hear you talk a little bit about what happened at Holly Street. I sent you a clip on that.
What's that? That's been so many years ago.
And when the people at Holly Street finally got fed up enough to start raising enough hell, and I'd say the politicians would say, you generate the sufficient political power and leverage to get something done, it happens. So what I'm saying here now is, in brief, we've got cases that are well documented. We've got information already given in the hands of the federal government. What we need is more support now from the community. And if we don't get it from the community, we'll move ahead, since we've already filed a complaint.
Wait a minute.
Oh, it's too late. You can either get on the bus and ride, or you can walk, but don't lay down in front of it.
Don't we have a Democrat congressman?
It's not about Congress.
No, but they're the ones, as elected officials, that can initiate and make
That's right.
a federal investigation.
We have been to both parties. If you look at the records, and I've sent you the documentation. We have been to both sides.
Let me ask you.
It's about money.
Let me ask you this question: why has Doggett said no?
You'll have to ask him. You'll have to ask him.
No, but you say y'all have asked him. What has his response been?
We have not gotten responses from any politician we've asked.
They just leave it alone.
Well, until you get enough political, unless you get enough political interest and concern. This is about children being poisoned, lead poisoning. We have the example of Flint, Michigan. Who was involved in Flint? You had Democrats and Republicans involved, right? Okay. And that Supreme Court decision that provided for money, and unlimited amounts of money going into politics. It's unless the people begin to raise these issues. And so my point is, here is an opportunity here in Austin. We have the issues, we have the cases, we have the anecdotal evidence, and just as you say, we know that people we've been to would not respond. Now we can say, okay, what we want then is an investigation into the corrupt practices that they've not been able to give us, and we have organizations like North Austin behind us.
In addition to educating our community that this particular individual in an elected position, a federal position, is refusing to look into this corruption or misuse of funds. Because if we don't educate our community, like you say, the community has to.
Why? Let me ask you a question. Why do we need to educate the community when we have evidence of violation of criminal statutes?
Because when you get more people,
we don't need people to ask it. We've asked it. Organizations have asked it already. It's a violation of criminal statutes.
Right, but unless you get more public pressure on that elected official, it's not going to happen.
Gavino, public pressure will come when the exposure comes.
Right.
The exposure comes through these 5 candidates who are running for office, asking the question, where is our money going?
Right, but if
We're
you
asking that question
educate me and you educate and I educate other people, then they'll start raising the questions. That's what I'm saying. So at the end of the day,
I think the two go together. They go together.
Because when we were in office, that's the way that a lot of the politicians reacted.
Right.
In my thinking, as we have these 5 candidates who are running,
right,
it would seem to me that it would be prudent and wise to have someone, wherever they appear, ask certain questions,
right,
in a public forum, and get a public response.
I agree.
My counselor have all three of them down at Dove Springs Rec Center here in another week or two.
I fully agree. And over and beyond that, I personally, on the 18th of August, wrote to the mayor and every one of the people on the city council raising exactly these questions. I wrote on behalf of Gray Panthers to all of them, so they have been asked. Now let's see if they respond. But I think it will help to have other people ask.
I applied for the let thing.
Right.
Because I have a house.
Right.
But as a renter, not me, the renter.
Right.
But that application allows for homes that have lead and people are renting.
Right.
Okay? So I'm going to see how it goes, and I'll keep you posted.
Well, I think that's great. I think the other issue here, though, is
because
this.
I think that's what I'm saying. That I think that because they're being put under a microscope about these funds,
what they will do.
Hopefully, they will be able to start dishing it out.
We want to motivate them,
right?
And we want to educate them, but we also want to investigate them and ask what's happened to the money that they received already. If you're putting this money in the hands of the same people who, whatever they did with it before, but they can't account for it, then why would you give those same people
But you
more?
know who's left that department as well? The director?
We're talking about a system, wherever it leads, to whatever politician it leads, this is nonpartisan, it's non-political, it's in terms of money. Bottom line, where is the taxpayer money going? You can ask people all over town, people whose taxes are going up, the water, the lights, the electricity, everything's going up. And yet, here in Troxell's article, I've got a copy of the opinion piece, she says, look, we've got so much money, and so did Ms. Garza. In other words, we've got so much money, we don't know what to do with it all. So we're saying, well, we'll find out, Because
they ain't gonna cut taxes, are they?
No, that's right. Well, the point is, so these kids come along and they say, well, we would like to have more funding for after-school programs that keeps kids out of the street. In many cases, the families are working long hours, the mothers, fathers, they don't get home till late. It gives the kids something to do. That's productive. Again, the human capital. We're investing in something. Instead of putting more police on the force or building more jails, let's do something to try to help the kids. There was a very interesting article, actually a book about 2 years ago, The Silver and the Brown, I think it was, a study by Rice University. Mm-hmm. And it really went into this, and I was interested particularly on the part of Gray Panthers, because it said, look, basically, unless older people get over this problem of greed and selfishness, they don't want to educate the young people, especially the Hispanics, because that's going to be competition in the future for work. The point is, who the hell do you think is going to pay your Social Security 4, 5, 6 years from now? You've got an inverted pyramid, all these old folks up here, and 1 or 2 young people down here. Now, if they've been in jail, or they can't get a job, what's going to happen to your Social Security? It's liable to be cut. Certainly the politicians are talking about that already. So it's a matter of self-interest.
What happened to communities and schools? They don't exist no more?
Well, they're mostly being privatized. It
really?
seems.
It's been farmed out?
More and more.
Because remember when communities and schools was real strong, every elementary school had after-school programs?
Well,
because
the questions you're asking are the kinds we want to ask too, but we want to do it under oath.
The argument isn't the quality or the need for the program. It's justified, to me, in my opinion. The issue becomes who's going to fund that program. Because, like Don mentioned, okay, we're going to fund these programs for AISD. What about Lakeway AISD? Right. What about Eanes AI? What about Del Valley AI? They're in the same area.
That's
so
right.
Are we going to pay for them as well?
See, again, charter schools do.
But look, here's the other thing. If you look at the amount that's allocated for these programs, and you do a line-to-line budget review, you'll see that a lot of the money is comes back to the government because they pay AISD for opening the gym or opening the schools beyond 5 o'clock. And guess what? During the school, when there are no after-school programs, the schools use them. They have they're at Metz. I'll use a prime example. At Metz Elementary School, there's a what do you call those donors? A partner from Metz. They're from like IBM.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, but because they're a partner, they open the school on Tuesdays and Thursdays nights, so IBM employees can come use the gym and play ball. Okay? Now, here's the deal.
Convenient.
That's fine. So why don't we use those nights they're going to open anyway to hold these classes and not charge?
Right.
Because a lot of times they double dip,
Sure.
So if you were to
I see what you're saying.
review that line item and not charge because both governments charge each other, for turning on the lights.
That always amazed me how they do that.
So that's where a lot of the waste goes,
Well,
and a lot of the money really doesn't go to the program and to the child. Now these nonprofits, and I know because when I used to work in Commissioner De Leon's office, we would receive all these nonprofits that wanted funding. The majority of the directors are either at $80,000 or $100,000 a year salary. LifeWorks, Goodwill, all these major nonprofits, and you're saying, whoa, wait a minute, and you have the director of Goodwill that's supposed to cater to poor people, drive up with a BMW and has a condo out in Lakeway.
Well, let me answer your question this way. When I was at the Office of Management Budget, and since then, we had the circular, it's OMB Circular A133, investigation and audits of state and local governments and nonprofit organizations. So that any one of those organizations get public funds, and it could be the NAACP or the Urban League or whoever, or all these organizations you mentioned, but they are subject to audit as well. So what we don't want to leave anybody out, see. So we're suggesting, now let me ask you, the panel here, what is the problem, or why shouldn't we have an audit of the city of Austin? I mean, a financial audit, fiduciary audit.
It won't cost us anything, right? The state Fed does it.
It won't cost us anything. It might cost a politician something, but it won't cost us anything, yeah. It depends on what the answers to our questions are.
Well, right now, I'd say you have 3 votes. We need to get 3 more. That'd be 6.
Well, I'm suggesting this. Let me say this. I'd like the listeners and the viewers to take a look. If you want to go to, you can go to the computer and go to the Coalition for Shared Governance, the website. It's a Facebook website, and it outlines what I'm talking about here, and people can click on and sign up. We also it's a petition to the United States Attorney that's been in there for some time. There's also the FBI office in San Antonio, and there is a hotline that's listed. You don't have to give a name, you simply call. We used to say drop a dime. Well, now it costs more than that, but you can simply call them up. But it's an 800 number, so you don't have to pay anything. So if you think, or someone thinks that there's a problem, a fraud, or somebody gets PO'd and says, wait a minute, I know they're not all crooked. There must be somebody honest down there. But maybe we could ask somebody to talk to somebody. And my name is on that website, so call me.
Who are the members of this coalition that you refer to?
We have Great Panthers, we have the North Austin community organizations. There are 5 of them out there, and located in 2 of the 10-1 districts. Okay. We have a number of other people, individuals, and so on. But go to the Facebook page and look.
Is interfaith part of the shared
Interfaith is part of what we do, yeah.
The shared governance?
We're all part of the same thing, yeah. And I can give you individual names, but I won't name any names here. But our point is, again, we're not blaming and we're not charging. We're simply asking questions. Where is our money going? And now, what better time when the politician is saying, hey, we're flush, we're flush. We don't know what to do with it all.
That's what I'm saying. What you're doing here is you're educating the community because they're up for re-election. They're up for election, 5 of them. So if they don't answer these questions and people don't raise these questions, the issues that you're bringing up,
at budget time. And don't forget, there are 5 up for re-election, but the other 5 can be recalled depending on the answers to these questions.
It won't be taken care of till the next cycle, possibly.
Well, I have a strong feeling that one of the reasons we've been stonewalled on these questions is we thought perhaps that we supported the change to 10-1, but with reservations. I was down on the April 28th before the city council, and I laid out all these issues to them on behalf of Great Panthers. And I said, now look, we support it, we wanted to make the change, we think you'll do a great job, we want to be helpful, but there is some unfinished business, and we've been asking these questions. And so we've gone to the mayor, the city manager, every person on this council. And we've got correspondence. I've got so many, I didn't stop sending the registered certified mail, it costs too much money, but I had enough green cards up on the wall to paper the wall with. The point is, we do have it documented. So it's time now to get third parties involved. So we're saying, and really it starts with the people. The people went along with the change to 10-1. We've given them a break, and I think they made a big mistake when they admitted we've got too much money. And when you say you've got too much, and yet we're raising taxes and we can't do this, can't do that, then where's the money going? We do know that the racetrack may not last too much longer, and we know that the guy Ecclestone who put that together, he's it was bribery, I think, he was indicted for in Europe.
Clint, let me ask
So
you
we
this.
have all sorts of questions she's floating
Let me ask
around.
you this. Given the previous council and how they
Right.
function, and given this new structure of government in this council,
Right.
what is your observation? Are they the same? Are they worse? Or are they a little bit more accessible? Or
I would
is
say,
it too early to
I'd
make
answer
a
the
call?
question that the system has not changed.
Okay.
The people have changed, the system has not. And I think, we've sent some good people to the council, and I like to think we're trying to give people the benefit of the doubt. We really ought to help our elected officials more than we do. Because they get in office and they get pressures, and when they don't get support from the people who put them there, then they bend to those pressures. Sometimes they make mistakes, and then they're compromised. And, the people in power take advantage of that. So I think what we have to do is look at the system. And here, I guess I could go along with some of them who say, well, it's a problem, and mistakes were made. Well, then all we're saying is, why is it that the same people make the same mistakes over and over again, and then get paid more?
A lot of those mistakes are criminal.
That's my point, Gavino.
A lot of those mistakes are
Especially
criminal.
when we've had indictments for bribery, and we can't get answers from the people in office about, hey, what happened to this guy? They indicted him on 4 counts of bribery. And the other issue, and I have to laugh about it a little bit, I said, normally, you're a lawyer again, as I understand it, I'm not a lawyer, I'm glad to say. But, if you have charges of bribery, you have the bribee, right, the person who bribes, but you also have the briber, right? But in the press, when these reports came out, nothing was mentioned about the briber. So we said, well, who were the bribers? They convicted the guy, or indicted the bribee, the one who took the money. But what happened to the guy who gave the money?
He was on the other side of the
Yeah,
transaction.
but was he a developer by any chance? Or where'd he come from? What's his background? So these are the kinds of questions.
So you're saying it's stopping at the DA's office?
Been to the DA's office. Well, we know the history of the DA down there. We know that, and again, politics come into play, so we don't even need to go into all that.
You mean the one that said,
What
call
I'm
Greg, call
saying, what I'm
Greg?
saying is, we've got 2 wings of the same buzzard. Unless we're going to keep riding that buzzard, we better get off him and start to do something about it, see? Now, we don't have to shoot him down necessarily, but what we need to do is make him straighten up and fly right. Remember that old song?
Yep.
Straighten up and fly right.
Why do you think our people vote Democrat?
Why?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I mean, we just go in there.
Because they
and-
Well,
think
a
they're
lot of it-
suppo-
a
because
lot of
they've been-
it's-
they think they're supposed to.
The media, and all I'm saying is this. I think that if people are given the right information and have time to digest it, but many people now working 2 and 3 jobs, and they don't have time to sit down and go through all this stuff. And we try to trust people that we elect to do the right thing and to help us. And so now I think it would really help these 5 people who are up for elected office. And I think Ms. Troxell, is it Troxell who gave? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who wrote this opinion piece? And Ms. Garza. I think we ought to support them. We ought to ask the same questions they're asking.
So are you leaning Republican or are you
I'm independent. I just
Oh,
want
you're
to find out
independent.
where the money is going. That's
I
what I
would
want.
like to, I'd like Gavino's question, why does the 90+% of the black community vote Democrat all
Well,
the
I
time?
don't,
They
I
think
don't,
they're
I can't
supposed
speak for
to.
the black community. I can only speak for a taxpayer and a Great
Yeah.
Panther, and I'm saying I'm too damn old now to be giving up at this point, see? I want to know where the money's going. Especially when the taxes
I
are
don't have the
raised.
problem.
Because
service is a
their
big
mama
cut.
voted Democrat.
Like legacy voters, well, I don't
Yep.
have the problem.
Are
Is,
you, are you
Yep.
in District 1 with Houston?
Yeah, yeah.
And she hasn't wanted to champion this issue
Well,
as
I've
well?
talked to her, I've written to her, I've talked personally with her, I've known her for a long time. But again, people get in the system, for one reason or another, they don't act. I'm saying, let's help them out.
they want to
We
ride
can
that
help,
gravy
we
train.
can help them out by support or help them out all the way out, but it won't be us doing it, it'll be the feds doing it.
So are you supporting the bond, the transportation bond?
I'm
or-
supporting questions about the bonds. I'm saying I think we ought to be asking questions. Why aren't we doing something with that? If we've got that much to spend, that much leeway, are we spending bond money mainly to bring more people in here, which increases the traffic, which increases the congestion? We've got people here now who can't live here. It's not affordable.
Because
And so
Houston,
why aren't we doing more for the people
Houston
who live
voted
here?
no,
I know.
right? She voted no.
Now,
have all these bicycle lanes. What are we going to do without all these bicycle
Yeah.
lanes?
I
in
want
trouble
to
without.
be fair, but we need information to be fair. And so I'm saying the best information I know comes through investigation, especially if it's given under oath.
Well, Cisneros was here last week,
Right.
and I always mention that when he comes to Austin, it very, very rarely comes to the minority communities,
Right.
But he was here, and he's
Well, they
another
own
one,
they own the black community. They don't have to come there. They own them. Except for
he's
me.
the one that hey, what's up? Where are the dollars?
Well,
And then you question why Becky left,
Yeah.
why her assistant left, why Mark Dodds left.
Right.
You find, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, capitalists come in all colors. Money's green, and we have only one race, and that's the human race.
Well,
and I'm not on a pedestal or a pulpit talking about that. By the way, I'm sorry we're running a little late, but I was trying to. The thing is, it seems to me we have an opportunity, and I think we ought to look at it as citizens, taxpayers, and an opportunity to get the information to the public. So educate people. Okay, two quick points I'd like to see come out of this discussion tonight.
All right.
Number one is if we can agree as a panel that we think it would be useful, it's not a good idea, to talk with the people in the community we know personally and the groups we work with to encourage an evaluation and an analysis and an audit or inquiry, if we don't want to say audit or investigation,
Keep it
of
short
the
and simple.
City of Austin finances. We didn't do it before 10
Y'all
months.
submitted letters and resolutions and petitions as well?
We've done it all, but you have to generate the kind of public
okay.
support for
Right,
it. That's what
but
we're
the
saying
reason
here.
I'm
So
saying
that's
is-
number one.
generate some
That's number one.
interest.
And use the example of what happened at Holly Power Plant. You all got things done down there. By the way, I hadn't seen Robert Donnelly's picture in a long time.
Yeah,
Mr. Donnelly,
the late
it's good
Robert
to see him
Donnelly.
again, late Robert Donnelly. But that's number one. Number two, the means to do it. Again, I would hope people would take the time, go to those two websites I mentioned. One is the Coalition for Shared Governance. It lays this out. People can look at that, evaluate it for themselves. You decide whether you think the information in there is worthwhile. I'll give you one example of a question that's in there. We've got a $2.5 million wood-burning power
Yeah, I don't
plant.
know why we didn't get on screen this time. Probably just didn't get around.
We
Send
have-
it to us, we'll put it on the screen next time.
We have a power plant. Well, I just gave it. If they write it down, or we can send it. If anybody's interested, contact me and I'll give it to them. Or
10
contact
for
us. They can contact you.
I ain't taking her out. I went off
Yeah.
and left my pupper at home.
Let me give you two quick examples of
Yeah, we got
issues and questions.
5 minutes left.
Well, the Nacogdoches wood-burning
Mm.
power plant, Austin Energy's White Elephant.
Yeah, what the hell is?
Yeah, okay, it's costing us something like $50,000 a year to run it. It costs something like $2.9 billion to build it. It's supposed to burn wood chips and produce energy, but it's been offline. It does not produce energy. It doesn't help us at all, but we pay for it still. There's water treatment plant number 4. Again, a lot of controversy there was about that and so on. Well,
There was.
this whole lead issue is in the same category along with the bonds and so on. It's not that we don't have the money. It's that we're not setting the right priorities to spend the money. But unless the public will begin to ask these questions, they're not going to get asked. Because the Chamber of Commerce and the Realtors Association have a big stake
There's,
in roads and all these other things. And they're the ones who can influence our elected people as well
because
as
they
our city
contribute-
staff.
Is that
Yeah.
the correct stuff
The-
up there on the screen, Mr. Clint?
FBI.
Oh,
Yeah.
You can't.
.gov/investigate
Investigates
slash
public
we already
public
know
yeah,
where we-
corporation.
Yeah, your eyes getting old.
Cooperative.
I'm in my second childhood. They're still young.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it. HTTPS.
Well, like always,
www.
we commend you and thank you as being part of, especially on this issue here.
Well,
I know that
Facebook, yeah.
had you not kept this issue alive, it'd probably
Yeah.
be
Well,
somewhere under the carpet.
This is an opportunity to help the kids, the young people who are coming along. And if we don't do it, who's going to do it? And I really think, this time around, we're going to be, whoever wins this election, we're going to have a big economic downturn. Let's face it. You read the paper this past weekend. Housing, it looks good here, but across the country, things are going up. Interest rates are going up. People are going to lose more and more jobs. So, and this election coming up this year is very important at all levels. So it goes back to your issues about the down ballots. These issues of down ballot are more important in many ways than the ones at the top. We can do
We've
something
always
about the
favored
ones
that.
there. Yeah. Well, thanks. I appreciate the opportunity, and as I
We
say, I'm
always welcome
available.
your insights and your
Yeah.
and
Well,
your
I'm,
efforts. that you
I'm
out
just,
there and
I'm
out
just
in
a
the
public
community.
servant. I'm
There you
just
go.
an old public servant. That's all.
Yeah, we're gonna have a new show coming on here pretty soon.
You're gonna have an
On the 12th of September.
September?
Yep.
Maybe coming on right after this one, so we can
That's
just
what
go
he
from one
say.
studio to the other.
That's what he say. We have mariachis on your show.
There we go. Mr. Smith, I don't know when we're gonna have you back on again, but
Oh, man.
between now and the
I've
24th.
talked that. I don't have anything more. I can
Remember
say.
October 11th?
Nobody knows it all. You know, all we can do is ask questions.
October
But
11th is the last day to register if you want to vote in the November 8th elections. Don't forget, you can register online.
We're gonna be gone for 2 weeks here on the Trailer Park Show.
Oh, that's right. We won't be seeing
We'll
y'all
be back on
till.
the 3rd, I think. We're gonna have almost nothing but candidates on between now and October 24th, because that's the first day of early voting. I don't know what we're gonna do after that.
Yeah.
But I figure we're gonna probably push some of these down ballot candidates. And
So,
try to give them
so
a
if
chance
they're a
to come out and say
candidate, they want to get a hold of you, they need to get a hold of you.
TrailerParkShow.com.
And whether you show up and your opponent doesn't, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Just
we've
come
already
on
got a
down.
couple of them inked, and I told this one lady that you're coming on. And
Well, this is what democracy is supposed to be about, you know. The question is, if not us, who? If not this, what? If not now, when?
And those of you that do run campaigns, you know the cost for airtime, so
Yeah.
it's
It's
free.
on for free, and it's on YouTube afterwards.
And good luck at the Trump rally tomorrow.
Wish I was going with you.
I might need to attack them in Minnesota, so, you know, I got
Yeah,
I
that's
have
something
my-
we
gotta
didn't
have
get
my
to talk
guard
about
up.
in case you didn't show up was, Trump's love Trump hate, but all the anti-Trumpers are beating up people. Not the Trump people they ain't violent. So,
Well,
yeah,
like I
don't think
mentioned
you'll work
earlier,
out here.
I'm gonna be so glad when November 9th comes around. You know,
Get over with all of it, huh?
Well,
I'm pretty sure there will
nothing's
be
more
some.
intolerant than a liberal.
There will be some.
And 10-4.
There may be some local runoffs, but you know.
well, you know, fellas, I think all of us are being victims of the big con from both sides. You know, the 1%.
There's plenty of
has
count
got
on
us-
both sides, yeah.
You know, the 1%'s got it all. They intend to keep it all and get more. And if they can keep us divided, fighting each other, they're going to win.
15:30, we're about to go off. We'll see you in 2 weeks, folks. Get out there and get busy. How about it? Say something, 5 seconds.
All right, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks for
Don't
working.
forget to register to vote if you haven't registered
Too late,
already.
you're off now.
And.